Welcome to the Do Zone, where entrepreneurs go to get things done. I'm your host, Josh Thomas. You can find me on all social media at JT Literally. Each week, I bring on experts from a variety of backgrounds to share their secrets on how to optimize performance so you can take massive action and crush your goals. The Do Zone is sponsored by Conversational Funnels. We booked 121 qualified sales opportunities in less than 2 weeks in a brand new market where we had zero presence, all without spending on ads or doing cold outreach. Generating qualified leads and bookings in 2025 is harder than it's ever been. Conversational Funnels makes it as easy as having a conversation with a trusted friend. Download the step-by-step blueprint for free at conversationalfunnels.com. Today's guest is Nolan Bradbury. Nolan is the founder of Bradfield Accounting and Advisory and leans on 2 decades of experience in both the public and private sectors to provide insightful, relevant, and most importantly, digestible financial guidance. He works to help founders and owners optimize the accounting, tax, and finance functions of their businesses to create not only improved business results, but a richer personal life. Nolan, welcome to the Do Zone. Tell us something you believe is the key to getting stuff done that most people wouldn't think of.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Pleasure to be here. This is going to seem like something that's really simple and obvious, but I think sometimes those things get overlooked and why they are sometimes the most important thing. What I have found to be true so often when we've worked with clients and they're struggling to solve an issue or they're working through something is that they tend to view the item or the solution as being binary. It's black or white. I do this or I don't do this. And the reality is there are an infinite number of possibilities that are available to you. We just don't ever take the time to sort of step back and look at the broader picture. So often we get hung up in the conventional wisdom of what needs to be done that we don't see the other obvious things. If everyone's doing A, take a moment and ask, well, what if I did B? Or what if I did the opposite of A? What would that look like? There's a lot of power in doing something different or something outside of like the most obvious thing, because that's kind of where the magic lies. Otherwise, it's just all the same. Like if everyone does the same thing, like how do you differentiate from that? How do you be creative? How do you get outside the boundaries of where you're at currently? It sounds really obvious, but if you're trying to be $1 million business, part of the problem is you may not be behaving as $1 million business. Like sometimes it's as simple as that. And so you have to think about, well, how do I behave as something I'm not? How do I do something different? So again, it's easy. It's not as easy as it sounds, but it sometimes is as simple as just taking a different approach to the question and seeing what else is available to you other than what's staring you right in the face.
Man, there's so much wisdom in that because the conventional path is the path of least resistance. Unfortunately, the path of least resistance means that a good 90% of the population is working for somebody else,
Yep.
or they're working for themselves and failing.
Yes.
And that's the majority because
Yep.
that's the path of least resistance. When you go in a direction that is not right in front of you, that's ultimately where you start making progress. Now, progress, and I'd love to hear you speak to this. Taking that other decision does not necessarily mean you will be successful in that other decision,
Right.
but you gain perspective, you gain data. And tell me a little bit, like, one of the reasons people don't do that is because they're afraid they're going to fail. What do you say to that?
100%. So this is a question we get. So I'm in the financial realm, right? So a lot of people want to know, like, can I afford to do this? Is this the right decision? What do the numbers say? And it's not that that is an important piece of it. It's not that we don't want to provide that, because it is a critical point. You do need to make data-based decisions ultimately, but you also have to know enough to go, even if the data says that, maybe there's something outside of that that I shouldn't do, or that I need to do something different to that. And as long as you know that you're being contrary to the data, I think that that's an okay risk to take, right? You can kind of quantify what it is that you're sort of like risking on, right? Um, but I think that the piece to this that's I think sometimes overlooked is that when you start down the path of like something contrary, right? The opposite, if you will. We view it as, again, a binary thing. Well, I'm either going to fail or I'm going to succeed. It's not true. It's only you only fail if you fail to learn from your failure, in my opinion, right?
Yeah.
So like,
And fail if you quit.
yeah, if you fail, so if you go down this path and it's not what you thought it was, that doesn't mean it's a failure. It just means you kind of learn something else about this. And most experiences in my life when I take a path and like this is the answer to something, it's like the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon game. It's like 7 people or 7 things down the path where I really come to realize, oh, this is why I was supposed to come down this path. This is the thing that ultimately I was supposed to get to understand. And it just took a lot of those sequences to go, oh, yeah, okay, I have this decision. Well, how do I evaluate this? How do I proceed forward? What is everyone else doing? If I don't want to do what everyone else is doing, what would something different look like? There's a great book that I finished recently called Alchemy. I'm drawing a blank on the guy's name, Rory something. But his whole idea, he's a marketer, and he talks about this whole idea of like the magic is in doing the unexpected to some extent. If everyone does all the same thing, like where's the creativity and all of that? And like to your point,
Rory Sutherland.
yes, that's the one, Rory Sutherland.
Yeah, I from Ogilvy.
Yes, that's exactly
And
it. Yeah.
I hung
If
out
you
with
haven't
Rory
read
Sutherland.
that book is amazing. Like it is such a
Yeah,
behavioral like analysis of why people do what they do or don't do from like both the consumer and the business side. Love it.
yeah.
It's a great
And,
read.
and I hate to interrupt, but
No, please.
I spent some time with Rory
Oh,
Sutherland,
very cool.
one of the smartest people on the planet. And just to add credence to what you're saying there, what the stuff that he was working on is like billion-dollar stuff. And
Yes.
like the example that he gave at the event that I was at was about how this European railroad
Mm,
was trying to figure out how to get people from, like Hamburg to what's the cap of Berlin,
mm,
like 10 minutes faster. And they were going to spend 6 billion euros building this faster train tracks and all of these other things because people were complaining, it takes too long to get there. So they're
yeah.
like, all right, well, let's solve the problem by making it faster. And but his consulting company came in and said, well, hang on a second. 6 billion euros is a lot. Why don't we just give them free Wi-Fi?
Isn't it brilliant? Like it's like because that solves the problem. The problem wasn't that it wasn't fast enough. It was that they didn't want to be on the train that long. So
Yeah,
if you
that it
change
wasn't
the
pleasant.
perception of how long they're on the train, then it doesn't matter anymore. It like
Yeah.
this is like I love things like this. Like he has an example early in his book where he talks about um this like giving campaign, it was charity where they basically did a study and it was like if you gave people the option, if you promoted it as such where you gave people, if you told people that if they gave this like the government was going to contribute like some percentage back, that actually had a lower contribution percentage than if you changed the shape of the envelope to be from like a letter to a portrait or like you made it bigger because of the mindset of the way people work. Just like all of these things are fascinating to me. The reason I bring all this up, right, is that it just illustrates that the answer we think is the answer sometimes isn't the best answer, right? The thing that's staring us in the face, building a $6 billion train, like nobody's going to stand up and argue with that. It's like, oh, that's a very logical answer, but it's not the best answer necessarily, right? Like free Wi-Fi probably cost them like $100 and they solved the problem like the next day, right? Like that's the beauty to me of like what we fail to understand sometimes is that we get so caught up in worrying about how we're going to be perceived and like that we're going to say something stupid or we're going to like fail at like an idea that we're afraid to sort of try something that's relatively low risk and could be the next big thing without even having to do much for it.
Yeah, that's right. And so, how do we apply that? Just quickly, I know that finances are a big topic for you and a lot of your clients.
Yeah.
What are some ways that we can get that alchemy working in our business from a financial perspective?
Yeah, so this is going to sound a little bit unconventional, but it's part of like the secret sauce and how we work, which is we approach it in a very similar fashion, which is we try to really isolate down what is the thing we're actually solving, not how do we think, what do we think the problem is? So a lot of times you say like, what are you trying to do? And someone will say, oh, I want to make $1 million. That's not the actual thing they're trying to solve for, right? The actual thing they're trying to solve for is they want to be able to go to more kids' soccer games. Okay, well, the solution to the first one is very different than the solution to the second. So we have to get very crystal clear on that so that we can then reverse engineer the setup of how we solve for that, right? The problem that a lot of people start with is they go, that's where I want to get to, and they proceed forward from there. In actuality, you want to define where you're going to get and then work backwards because every step you take closer to where you're at is a guarantee that if you moved in the other direction back towards a goal, you would ultimately get there. The problem is starting at the starting point, you have no guarantee that you're actually going to get where you want. You're hoping, you're kind of guessing, but when we reverse engineer it and we use the data and the numbers to financially support, like, oh, well, if we wanted to have 25% more revenue, what would the breakout of our revenue have to look like to be able to substantiate that profit? And is that actually a decision we want to make, or does that get us further away from our goal of not working as much? Sometimes we want to get bigger because we think it's going to give us more freedom, but the actuality, the truth, the opposite is true, right? We build up more stuff around us and we become entrapped in this like sort of glass or this ivory tower that we've made. And it's very hard to peel all that back when in actuality, if we had known what we were solving for in the beginning and we had a better understanding of what our options were, we could have defined maybe a much simpler process to give us the freedom in a much easier, more efficient way.
Yeah, and what I love about that is I asked an accountant a question about financial goals, and you gave me an answer that had absolutely nothing to do with finances, and I think it's perfect
Thank you.
because because those are the things that drive your financial decisions.
Yes.
And that's the thing that we miss. Like, I want to hire an accountant. Obviously, I suck at math. I'm not great at managing my money, whatever, all those things. But I really need somebody to see the bigger picture because if you're not seeing it, I'm definitely not seeing it.
Well, and a lot of the challenges that we run into when we start working with clients is, and we know this, and we tell people this, is that we know you hate accounting. Whenever I start off a call, I'm like, look, tell me why you're here because I know you don't want to be talking to me. There's like a million other things you'd rather be doing right now than talking to an accountant on the phone. So what is it that caused you to pick up the call, pick the phone and talk to me today? Let's talk about that. And when we do that, what we start to understand is what are the limiting beliefs or factors that are in place that prevent them from utilizing something like accounting to the best of their abilities. And oftentimes it's simple things like, well, the past accountant was kind of patronizing and they talked down to him. Well, we can fix that for you. Or maybe, you're not a math person, but maybe you like do really well at digesting Loom videos. So instead of sending you a bunch of fancy reports, what if we sent you a 2-minute video every month that told you how your performance was? If that allows you to lean into understanding what is really important to your business in a much easier way, that's an easier fix than like trying to fix something else entirely that doesn't even need to be adjusting in the first place, right? So a lot of it is like leaning into and understanding where someone's at and meeting them there so that we can design the right financial infrastructure for them to support them and get them to where they want to be.
Yeah. And so tell us a little bit about who you serve and how they can connect with you.
Yeah, so we work primarily exclusively with founders, business owners, usually in the $1 to $10 million range in revenue. Most of the clients that we find, they're coming to us because they've kind of tapped out at where they're at from a revenue perspective, and they want to get to the next level. And so we kind of define the next level in terms of the rules of 3 and 10, meaning 1 million or 100,000, 300,000, a million, 3 million, 10 million, and that sort of incremental growth. And so we find that people get stuck at some point, and that's because they don't know how to behave like the next level. And so we help work with them on that. And so most of our clients are in the service space. We do work with retail, although not too often just because of the economics of the business. But primarily working with service professionals to help them scale their business to be able to be something that they can step away from and have the freedom that they want to have in their personal lives. In terms of finding us, we have a website, bradfieldco.com. You can meet us there. There's a contact form. If you reach out to us, you'll get a human response, not an AI. You'll actually get a human. Please don't spam us. You can also find us on LinkedIn very creatively as an accountant. My handle is Nolan-Bradbury. So you can find me there. If you see me on any other social medias, that's not me. I'm only on LinkedIn. So don't connect with the wrong one.
Very good. Hey, we're going to wrap from here. Thanks so much to our guest, Nolan Bradbury, for joining us and sharing some wisdom about how he gets things done. You can connect with him by going to bradfieldco.com. Is that right?
That's correct.
Whether you're on your morning commute, in the gym, or somewhere out in the field, snap a selfie, tag me at JT Literally. Show me what you do while you're in the do zone. And one more time, if you want to stuff your calendar with qualified and motivated, ideal clients who want what you have, download the Conversational Funnels Blueprint for free at conversationalfunnels.com. That's it. Let's get to work. Hey, thanks for listening to the Do Zone podcast. If you're running a service-based business that's looking to grow this year, let's talk about how we can slingshot you into momentum with a quick injection of cash and sales. Our clients typically see results in as little as 7 days. To learn more about what we do, you can go to factor1.io. Once again, that's factor1.io. We'll see you next time.